Let's go.
Welcome, everyone, to Zephyr's Adjusted for Risk podcast from the shores of Lake Tahoe. This is Ryan Nauman, and I'm the market strategist here at Zephyr. I have another great show lined up for you today, and one that I'm really excited about. Marketing within the wealth and asset management space has evolved greatly over the years. Now, that evolution is being driven by AI. Well, I am very excited to have on an industry expert to talk all about AI and how it is changing the way marketers market. Before we get started, this episode is sponsored by the award-winning Zephyr, which helps investment professionals make more informed investment decisions. All right, enough from me, and let's bring on the star of the show. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to Joe Anthony. Joe is the president and CEO at Gregory. Joe, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an honor to have you. I'm really excited about this conversation. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself and Gregory?
Ryan, well, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the program here. Gregory, for those that are uninitiated to who we are a 36-year-old financially focused PR and marketing agency that's worked with RIAs, asset managers, index providers, really the entire financial service ecosystem over the last several decades. And we spent a lot of time working with them, partnering them on their growth strategies, their brand visibility strategies, and that can mean anything from traditional public relations to digital marketing, social media, and so forth. So we do a lot of that kind of work and excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, fantastic, Joe. I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of people from your team, a lot of your team members, and they're fantastic. You've put a great team together at Gregory. I really enjoy working with them all and partnering with them also. So kudos to you and your team. Great
You hear that?
stuff.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. So let's start with that evolution that I opened with. Like a lot of things in the asset and wealth management space, it's evolving very quickly, all aspects of it. And that also includes the marketing within the asset and wealth management space, really over the past 20 years, 30 years, you name it. How has it evolved in your eyes over the years?
Well, let's start by saying this. No firm spends money on marketing without the expectation of growth. If you're trying to build a business, trying to attract AUM, new clients, investors in your fund, whatever it might be, when you're marketing, what you're really trying to do is provide air cover to the people that are responsible for business development and sales. And so when you look at that, underpinnings of marketing haven't changed much. People want brand visibility and they want new money, new revenue in the door. But how it gets done is shifted dramatically. In my 24-year career doing this, I can tell you that there's been as much change in the last 18 months as there have been in any 5 or 10-year period before that in terms of how firms show up, how they're competing. And I think, Ryan, what's really interesting too, there are more and more entities competing for wallet share than there ever was. The democratization of the wealth management industry, ushered in by the RIA arrival, really big time since the late 90s. And just like with the ETF world, really made a big push over the last 18 to 20 years to really take hold. That level of competition has only put the onus on marketing to really make a difference in terms of how firms show up, get found, and people buy their products or invest with their business.
Yeah, you make a very good point. I love the fact that you said at the end of the day, marketing, the goal of marketing is the same as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, but it's how you do it has changed and evolved. And just like, I often say that this space, whether it's a wealth management space, asset management, it's as competitive as ever. It's in trying to differentiate yourself is, one of the biggest obstacles, I think, or, you know, hurdles that a firm has to make. And that's where marketing really plays a role and gets that biggest ROI, I would think.
Well, I think what people have to realize, and when you're talking about managing someone's money, whether it's personal wealth, whether it's inside an investment vehicle like an ETF or a mutual fund or hedge fund, whatever it might be, it boils down to a trust business. Do I trust you, Ryan, more than myself to take care of this money, making sure it does what it's supposed to do to provide me resources to meet my goals in the future? And again, that trust makes it really important. The trust factor makes it important for brands, individuals, marketers, portfolio managers, whoever's, the mouthpiece for the effort, to cultivate a sense of relationship and a sense of credibility, and making sure that, when someone's coming to the table and saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about putting money in your fund," or, "Hey, will your wealth management firm manage my family's assets?" That level of trust is matched with a sense of rapport and a sense of credibility where they want to do business. And so it's interesting, while we have more and more tools that have taken the people directly out of the equation in terms of being able to reach your customers with digital marketing and social media without necessarily shaking the hand of a wholesaler or sitting down at a country club with a financial advisor. Still, that level of trust and credibility is paramount. Firms and brands need to invest in that. And that's something that was relevant 30 years ago and is relevant today. Now, what's really interesting, you alluded to in your opening, is that with the arrival of AI and AI tools, firms are getting found in whole new ways that they couldn't even imagine 3 years ago. The amount of activity and people doing research using Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever it is just shot through the roof. It's pretty crazy when my 83-year-old father is using ChatGPT, right? And so you think about that from a game plan standpoint for a marketer. If you now know that alongside Google and referrals and all these other places people find out about your offering, that now you have to understand, how are you showing up in this what feels like a black box world of LLM search. It changes the game, and it really does, because people are now looking not just for ideas, they're looking for answers, that validation. So it goes back to the point earlier, when they're searching for you and finding you again, whether it's with Google, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's at a country club with a friend, whatever, they want to make sure that you're someone they can like and trust and do business with. And so, again, new packaging, but a lot of the same requirements as before.
Yeah, Joe, that's fantastic. I started some 20 years ago too, and worked for a financial planning practice. I love those days of going out with the wholesalers and all those boondoggles, and they're treating us like kings. I don't know if that still exists today, going to all the sporting events. Marketing has changed a little bit there with regulations and so on. And then we're going to talk about building a trusted brand. Like you said, it's so important in this industry to build trust, have a trusted brand. We're going to talk about that shortly, but let's go back to your AI point. We can't, it's so hard now to have any conversation that doesn't talk about AI. Like you said, your dad uses AI and all that stuff. You mentioned a little bit, but how has it impact marketing and PR in this space?
Well, when you think about the role of AI, when it first came on the scene a few years ago, when OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the instant reaction was, "Oh, this can help me generate uh, ideas or content for my marketing." So maybe one of the first things that were impacted was the in-house efforts, a great blog post accompanying your investment product material, where it helps support your outreach to your wealth management clients or your wealth tech clients. And then quickly people realized it wasn't just about generating content or materials, but also could be a tool that's used to organize, for example, or to brainstorm or plot out what could happen in the future. But what most brands awoke to a lot in the last year and maybe the last 18 months is the fact that people were searching for ideas and connections on these platforms and how they show up. And one of the things that it caused us to do as an agency, where we've sold SEO and SEM services for years, and we realized that game was changing right before our eyes. We saw it happening. We developed the Gregory Influence Engine, Ryan, and that's a platform that synthesizes data and outputs from 7 different large LLMs that helps our clients ascertain how their brands and how their people are showing up in these models, and understand what content and forces are influencing what's coming out of the LLMs. So one of the things that we uncovered in the process is that some of the things that they were already doing were supportive of this new world order in terms of AI search. We saw validation for brands that were committed to having first person authoritative content on their website. That's something that's been talked about for a while, but how it's done and exactly how it's formatted has changed a little bit. But brands can take heart knowing that that marketing piece is still relevant. They just have to update how they're doing it. The veracity and importance associated with, use the word authority, associated with traditional media outlets, whether it's wealth management, whether it's Wall Street Journal, whether it's CNBC.com, whatever it might be, participating and making sure your experts have visibility in these venues also matters a great deal. And so we've seen that while brands and funds and individual personalities and thought leaders leaning on AI search as a tool to get found, we also have seen that the other aspects of marketing all pull together. In some ways, I feel like AI has become an organizing principle in how to think about your marketing stack, which is something, frankly, that if you 3 years ago when people thought about ChatGPT coming out for the first time, they were just simply thinking, can I get 5 blog posts out the door this week instead of 5 this month?
Yeah, as a single person research shop here at Zephyr, I've been leveraging AI more in my research and so, but I feel as if there's kind of that fine line. You still want to make sure that content and research is authentic, your voice, right? Because I feel as if some readers can see through and be like, you know what, that's AI driven. How important is that in terms of when you, like you say, you're creating content using AI? You, you got to make sure it's still in that person's voice, I'm assuming.
Well, I think this is where the cream rises to the top. At Gregory, we invest in making our agency staff experts in the verticals they service. So, for example, we have 12 people in our on our team that earn the certified ETF advisor designation because we want our ETF clients to know that the people that are doing the media outreach, the campaign planning, the writing, really understand and get the ETF community. And so, just the same, we have people equally invested in other areas of the business. Some people have their MBA or CFP or other things that are relevant to the business world. And so I point this out because that inherent knowledge of the industry you're serving, the industry you're operating in, where you have a strong sense of that voice that's important, that's authentic to the expertise you're trying to deliver, it's really important. So whether it's yourself internally or an outsourced team like ours, bringing that knowledge to the table is going to make the AI tools work better for you and be able to help you show up more constructively in those formats. AI is a tool that can empower a lot of people and increase productivity, but it's best used in the hands of people that have a strong grasp of language, have a strong grasp of the topics that they're working at. It's really important. The other part of it is really, really essential here that I look at. Any communication is really a support of a relationship. And when you have a communication that doesn't pair well with a person trying to deliver that message, it's not going to hit home. You're not going to be successful in engaging investors, engaging new clients, getting people to sign up for your wealth technology, whatever it might be. You need to be able to have that. And so, yes, some people are skeptical of the content they get because it looks like AI slop or some sort of droid communicating with you. And the brands that overcome it are those that have invested time and energy making sure that people doing the communication are as expert as they seem to be when they share the content.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Joe. And I always, especially if you're funding, well, any role in this space in the investment management space is whether you're a client or investor, you want to know who that person is and be authentic. And if you're just leveraging AI that creates content, are you giving your audience really an idea of who you are as a person? Because that's who they want to invest in or work with also. You talked a little bit about, how marketers view AI and how they use AI and, now 2024, 2025. Do you think that view on how marketing or marketers are going to use AI is going to shift a little bit in 2026 now that we are already in 2026?
Well, I think what's going to happen is that these tools are changing rapidly before our eyes, and there's things you can do today that you couldn't do months ago. There's applications of the technology that we can't even imagine that are in the works somewhere. And so I look at this, and so if you are in any aspect of marketing and communications, this will have an impact or already has had an impact. And that could be for design, it could be for image retouching if you're a photographer, it could be for researching a newsletter for content or headlines for it. It could be for even ideas in terms of how to best engage a reporter in terms of you trying to get that reporter interested in quoting your expert in their publication. So many different ways it can hit you. I think what we're going to see is that firms will need to pair that quality, the quality ability to use these tools with with the folks that really understand it, and you're going to see that more senior marketers supported by technology more so than up and coming professionals. And like in our field, whether you're internal to a company or work for an agency, we're committed to grooming new talent because we believe in the future of the industry. We want to have teams of people that grow up in the industry and are capable of using these tools. We also recognize our top people that are seasoned are able to do more today than they were 2 years ago with the benefit of these tools in terms of, being efficient, bringing more ideas to the table, and that's what it should be about. And so when your brain, you think about what does this mean for me? Most people have more of a chance to have a full thrust, multifaceted marketing and communications program today than they did 2 or 3 years ago because of the cost and efficiencies that have been brought to bear as a result of some of these new additions.
Yeah, Joe, that's fantastic. You mentioned too earlier about before marketing was focused on SEO, building website authority. And it's still important today, building website authority and doing whatever you can to be included in a Google search. You want to be in that top payer, that first page when somebody's searching in Google. Now it's all about being included and found in AI searches. What's the difference between just a Google search, AI search, and can you provide us some tips on how you can improve your standings within an AI search?
Well, keep in mind there's ways you construct your website behind the scenes to show up. And then for years, people focus on things like keyword optimization and so forth. And there's a pattern, and there are rules of road for the paid side of it. So if you didn't like the way you're showing up in organic search, you could bid on keywords and things like that. So people put searches in, a an ad or something will pop up to put you at the top of the Google rankings for that day or that week or whatever your time frame and budget was. AI search cannot be manipulated that way. Now, will it happen next week, next month, next year? Very likely that someone's going to monetize that aspect of AI search. But right now, it's fundamentally back to, all right, who we should like now. Keep in mind, these different platforms have different resource partners where they educate themselves, and so and the de facto expert on restricted stock options and how to manage that in a tax efficient way, the answer you're going to get from Perplexity is not going to be the same one as you get from Gemini or ChatGPT in terms of what to do and who the best people out there are to help you with that issue, because they're learning from different models and learning from different resources. And so the partnerships with publications, partnerships, they will prioritize Reddit or Quora, and the other ones won't prioritize platforms like that. And so you're going to get different things. And so it becomes fragmented in terms of how you collectively own or win that game, but it's still more organic in terms of who's winning than traditional search, where a lot of times people with the biggest budgets would buy their way to the top. We are going to come to a point in the not too distant future where that becomes a thing again. We're already seeing brands insert links to buy stuff. So if you're looking for ideas for the best grill for the summertime, you can go in today to ChatGPT and get a link to Weber or something like that to buy your Weber grill. And so I look at that and say it's coming for financial services, it's coming for brand visibility, and so the underpinnings of brand visibility still mattering in that all these fragments that feed in the machine still have merit on their own. People are creatures of habit. There, you're going to look for information. Google or ChatGPT or Perplexity, all these different things were places where people get a lot of information about something in the same spot, but people still have the habit of going out and clicking on the article and seeing, all right, what did they say about Ryan in this article? What did they say about Joe in this article? Now people are getting trained to no click. So they'll go into ChatGPT and they'll see this information that they'll either take it as gospel, or they will not have that same sort of outbound appeal to look for more validating information. So which is why the social proof aspects of showing up at high profile media, getting Google reviews for your business. I know financial advisors are still getting accustomed to that idea, but that matters a great deal. The rankings and awards that go out there, those lists do have an influence, an impact. And so all these what I call adjunct aspects of marketing, whether you're the top ETF of 2025 or Barron's 100 advisor, these things that maybe not the core to everyone's strategy become more relevant in a world where information sharing is driven now by these LLMs.
Joe, that's really interesting. Like you say, the list, the 40 under 40 or the top 10 to watch, wealthmanagement.com does a great job with these lists. I guess I never thought about how those being part of that list can funnel down into being included, improve your rank within AI. So a lot of benefits to being part of those lists and recognized through those ways to help improve your people being able to find you in AI.
Well,
So
Ryan, a quick aside for your audience. I know that there's certain advisors that will use Smart Asset as a directory tool to get leads. Smart Asset has some fans and some detractors, but one thing they've done and proven really well is that uh, being listed on Smart Asset can have a huge impact on how you show up in AI search. Smart Asset is a great tool for brands looking to beef up their presence there. So if you're an RIA, you're not necessarily sure you want to deal with the inbound leads coming from Smart Asset, you still might find value in a platform like that for AI search optimization. So just a quick aside, and that's not to say good or bad about Smart Asset as its core tool, but it's definitely plays a role, and you see it show up and just do when you're doing the audits and seeing how people are making their way into these searches that are on ChatGPT or Perplexity or otherwise.
great information because I know I've been using more AI searches than Google. And you talked about those paid sponsors or paid advertising in Google. I never clicked on those. I would just go right past them. So I really hope AI or ChatGPT they don't do it. It sounds like they are moving that way, but it's a great new way of it saves time
Yeah.
when you're using AI the search. So to be included in that is a huge benefit, whether like you say you're a financial advisor or an asset manager trying to sell your ETF.
Well, Ryan, one quick point about the search piece that I think is really important for audiences to understand. So when you go to search, is the level of importance you're putting on a search will dictate how thorough you are and how much you'll take it at face value. If I'm just looking for a good hamburger joint in the town I'm visiting because I'm meeting up with a buddy from college, I might do a quick search, find a couple places, and just go. Now, if I'm thinking about proposing to my girlfriend, and I'm certainly not going to do a one trick pony search and just say, oh, romantic restaurants in Newport, Rhode Island, or whatever, and just pick one up. You're going to do some real legwork. Just the same, you might be thinking about looking for ideas for a new dividend ETF. That may not be as extreme in terms of the research you're doing for your own portfolio or if you're a financial advisor. But if you're a wealthy couple and you've never had a financial advisor before, you know it's going to be more than just a quick search on Google or ChatGPT or otherwise. There's going to be another level. And so the amount of work you have to do to really build and earn trust online in support of this new paradigm really goes to the point of, hey, it's not just being about being found. You still have to do the work to make sure what shows up builds that credibility and sense of trust.
Let's talk about that trust. You mentioned it a few times and how important it is, especially in this industry, in creating that trusted brand. How can firms leverage AI to build a trusted brand? It's very important, especially when you're entrusting somebody to manage your money. How can firms leverage AI to build that trust?
When you think about what AI is just technology, right? And brands have been using technology to make their marketing and brand building more efficient, particularly the last 25 years. But specifically, when we know that the overall population is moving to a information gathering solution that drives everyone to one place as opposed to encouraging them to look elsewhere. You have to be really thoughtful about how you show up in those places. We still don't know which AI platform is going to win. ChatGPT has a name recognition; they're a first mover. You have Copilot obviously being built into certain laptops and things like that. Perplexity has lots of fans out there in the financial industry. I know a lot of our clients use that. We don't know there's gonna be a winner. And so you have to understand that not only do you have to understand how you show up in general in AI search, but you also understand the nuances of these platforms if you really want to be thorough about winning. It's kind of like Google versus Bing. Google has such a crazy huge market share lead that you could get 95% of your search audience just by playing there. So a lot of people ignored Bing. Now it's not the case. There isn't any one place where you're going to get more than 50% of your audience in terms of AI search. So you really have to think more broadly about how you can impact these things. And so all these platforms rely on high domain authority website content, earned media, rankings, and lists. And so you still have to go after these things. And and you still have to participate and look to do that. I think what's interesting about AI search is that if you're going to look at the questions that are most frequently asked to prompt someone to find a financial, like, so if I'm going in to find a financial advisor or find a new investment idea, think about the questions those people ask. They either look back at your own website and say, is my website a website that answer questions people generally ask, or that would lead them to seek out a financial advisor, or lead them to seek out a new financial planning software, or lead them to seek out a new ETF or something? Does my website answer that? Am I set up to attract those kind of queries? If not, that is the easiest step you can take in terms of making sure that your brand presence is ready for this era of AI driven search.
Yeah. And Joe, one thing I did recently too, and I think everyone should do it, is do a search on yourself. For me, it was pretty scary. I was like, oh my gosh, do I want to know what ChatGPT says about me, says about Ryan in the podcast? And it was very interesting what the outcome was. So I think it's very important for people to do a search, do an AI search or a question about your firm, about yourself, and see what ChatGPT or whatever platform you want says about you. Right? Is it good? Is there a way that you can improve upon it? Because that's what your potential prospects are looking at too. And like I said, when I did it was scary. I was like, oh gosh, what's it going to come back with? But I think that's always a good little tip there for our listeners.
Yeah, it's a great place to start for sure. And so one other point on that, I think
Yeah.
when you think about trust being currency and multiple people representing your brand as a financial institution, it could be portfolio managers, it could be financial advisors, it could be CEO level. It makes sense for the marketing team, if not the individuals themselves, to do an audit not only of how their brand is showing up, XYZ Financial, whatever the company is, but also those people that are most frequently associated with the brand on an external basis. And again, it could be rainmakers, financial advisors, it could be wholesalers, it could be portfolio managers, whoever it would be. You need to understand how they're showing up because they too impact the reputation of your firm online.
Let's talk about that. It's a great segue, Joe, into different ways a trusted brand. A lot of people think a trusted brand is important for client acquisition. But there's other ways that a strong brand can impact a firm's business. What are some of those ways that it can help?
So when I look at the firms we're working with, they all come to us because they have growth aspirations. And those growth aspirations are usually predicated around one of three things. Either they want to be a place where they can attract and retain great people to build their business. And in the world of wealth management, having high quality financial advisors part of your team is a big part of that. So it's a human capital recruitment tool. It's also supporting the business in terms of acquisitions. A lot of financial companies are growing via acquisition. And it's not just in the wealth management space, although there's a lot of news and noise around RIA deals and private equity money fueling that. But you see there's consolidation with asset managers, and you see consolidation where larger tech firms are buying smaller tech firms. It's hitting everybody. I think so. Making sure that you have a reasonable response to how you're going to operate in that world. And then the third area is obviously for organic growth of attracting new customers. And again, that could be investors in funds, it could be clients to an advisory firm, whatever it might be. So you look at those three areas of growth and how it impacts their effort. I think you really need to understand that to do this, people want to associate with firms they like, that they have a sense of relationship, that they could see themselves there. Like, am I one of them? So a firm that comes across as having good people that are doing the right thing, operating with integrity, they're more likely to be able to recruit good talent, right? I mean, people have spent lots of money in the last 20 years on their talent brand. You heard that phrase tossed around. Just the same, if you are a firm that's considering selling your business to an acquirer, you're hoping that they have a great action plan for their marketing and visibility. You don't want to go somewhere where you can't grow faster than where you're growing currently, whether it's attracting, again, more assets to a fund you're managing or more clients to your practice. You need to have that acquiring partner have a great presence. And so a firm that really has their arms around this has an advantage. And then lastly, obviously, when it comes to the marketing mousetrap of getting new customers, that's carry the day. That organic growth, the ability to convince more people to do business with you is going to help. And so, and that can show up in so many different ways when we talk about firms promoting themselves from both a organic way as well as a search driven way.
Great way of putting that, Joe, that, a strong, trusted brand, the importance of it, whether it's all about growth, whether it's recruiting new advisors, M&A, or organic growth with bringing on new clients, how important that trusted brand is. All right, Joe, let's put on I'd say your crystal ball, bring out your crystal ball, but we're already in 2026, which is crazy. I'm still trying to figure out where 2025 went. But what should RIAs focus in terms of marketing moving forward or in 2026?
But I think there's things that I feel you're going to see another level of commitment from firms to install true marketing leadership because now it's gotten complicated and fragmented enough where you can no longer expect to grow and have real progress in that organic growth effort without having a full commitment to having true marketing leadership. I was on stage last year at an Informa event, and I shared a stat that I had seen that was remarkable to me that fewer than 10% of RIA firms with 5 billion or more in assets had a chief marketing officer. I think that number is destined for change. It has to change. It requires people to invest money and get those people trained up, and it requires firms to empower these people to really make a difference. But I think that's something that we're going to see. I think I'd be shocked if we ended 2026 without meaningful signs that there's going to be more C-level executives installed. And even further down the food chain, when you talk about the firms are looking to maybe position themselves for sale, $500 million or $1 billion firm, they still want to make that investment. The second thing I would say beyond the sort of the empowerment of marketing and the change that I foresee, I think the other area is brands are going to realize that within the RIA community specifically, it will be an impossible task to have a true household brand. And so they're going to have to recommit to leading with their people and leading with their brand voice in a way where that thought leadership has to be out there. Yes, there are gonna be some firms that someday will be able to do what Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley did the Wirehouse channel and become omnipresent names that have Super Bowl ads and blimps and things like that they make them known. But in the near term, it's gonna be really difficult to do that. But it's so competitive and the pressure for growth is so strong that the path to really connect with your audience is gonna come back to how am I showing up? Am I relatable? Do people feel like they can bring their money and their assets to be managed here and feel like they know the firm, even if they never step foot in an office? And that level of commitment has to happen, even if AI search is driving a lot of the discovery today as versus what might have been a few years ago.
That's a great point. And, financial advisors, they there's not enough time in a day for all the tasks they have to do, all the different hats they wear. So bringing on a CMO just seems pretty obvious as a way of, making their practice more efficient, sustainable, and giving them more time to do really what is most important in meeting with their clients. And I love that you talked about the content part of it. It's amazing the traditional wealth management firms that are creating studios for podcasts, for media. Like the biggest one, the compound with Ritholtz. It's like that team, Josh Brown, it's almost like a media company now. All the content they're producing, Potomac. It's interesting, like how these firms are just doubling down on creating content and information to get their brand out there.
Yeah, it's amazing that for a long time it was quarantined to things like buying an hour of radio time in your local market. On Saturday mornings, they have a call-in show or a prepackaged show. And that same amount of time and effort now with technology can be extrapolated into you can have short clips for your social media pages. You can have transcripts that turn into blog posts. There's so much you could do with that same amount of time that was I can remember in 2007, I was working with Adam Bold and a company called the Mutual Fund Store at the time. He would go into a local radio affiliate in the Kansas City market and record his show, and it would be re-aired around the country in whatever markets he was in. And it involved prepping the show, driving and recording, waiting. It's a multi-hour process. Today, you can do most of those same activities, recording in your home office or at your headquarters, whatever, And you get with technology, with transcript tools, things like that, not only do you have multiple assets, it's done in a faster amount of time, and it's remarkable. So with these tools, anyone could be a publisher. You don't need to buy radio time. And the question is understanding how people are receiving that information. Are you thinking about what the audience is really seeking or what you want to say? The difference, we'll get bulletins, all of us in our inboxes. If you're in the industry, you'll get bulletins of around the changes in estate tax law, or what does market volatility mean to you, written from the perspective of an analyst. More often than not, the people that are making decisions around portfolios or finding a financial advisor aren't thinking in terms of standard deviations. They're thinking in terms of, can I still afford to buy the beach house now that rates have moved up? Should I keep my beach house versus my regular home? Should I buy that third car for my teenage driver or set up an Uber account for them? What's more efficient and less risky? Like, these are actual life questions related to money that they're looking for, and more often than not, even the 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 average content creator might not always think of making their content relatable that way. The best ones, like the folks at the compound, will make it relatable and make it personal from a standpoint of how people think about money, and that's where you win in this age where anyone could be a content creator.
Joe, if I can do it in a little small homemade office here in Lake Tahoe and do a podcast and content, like you said, it's not easy. It's time consuming, but not like what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a lot has changed, and thanks to technology.
Yeah. Joe, fantastic conversation. I learned a lot. I knew it would be a good one, and it was. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Such an honor. Where can our audience get more information about Gregory?
Well, we relaunched our website under the rebrand this past fall. GregoryAgency.com is our homepage. Feel free to look me up on LinkedIn as well. I share a lot of information on there, and I look forward to seeing more of your great podcast, Ryan.
Thank you, Joe. And also, speaking of podcasts, you're also host of a very popular podcast. Where can people get information about your podcast?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thanks, Ryan. So, yeah, I host Marketing Matchup, which a short plug for it is that we actually interview marketing leaders from different aspects of the financial community. The twist is that they don't know that who they're going to be on with. So every conversation is spontaneous and impromptu. It's called Marketing Matchup. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the other platforms where you get your podcasts. We've had a great second season so far. Most recently dropped an episode with Tyler Resch from Steel Peak and Samantha Allen from Merit Financial. We had a great one before Christmas featuring Tara Ryan from Cerity Partners. So a lot of smart people in the pod, a lot of ideas exchanged. If you're a marketer who's looking for more information on what other firms are doing, the people on the podcast have been super gracious sharing their ideas. So come check it out. Love to hear what you think.
I love that concept. Love the concept. Very fun. Very fun. All right, Joe. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Zephyr's Adjusted for Risk podcast. You can watch all of our other episodes on the Zephyr YouTube channel as well as on Spotify. Please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us a follow on LinkedIn. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Ryan.